Let me tell you a story. This is actually a story about people, timing, and about opportunity. It's a story about Argentina and Venezuela. And to help you fully understand it, I'm going to compare what happened in Venezuela with what happened in Greece. Because sometimes looking at history from another angle helps us see opportunity more clearly. For more than 20 years, I've been saying something that most people overlooked. And even back then, it was clear to me that what was happening in Venezuela would not stay in Venezuela. And it didn't. What happened in Venezuela spilled across Latin America, and Argentina felt it deeply. When Hugo Chavez and later on Nicolás Maduro consolidated power, Venezuela did not just lose financial capital. Over time, it lost human capital, and it lost decades of institutional and economic progress. What followed was one of the largest migration flows in modern history. An estimated 9 million people left Venezuela, and this was not a random exodus. This was not just any population. Doctors, lawyers, architects, engineers, entrepreneurs, technicians, men and women with university degrees, skills, and experience. Basically, the best of Venezuela, in other words, the most valuable asset any country can have. They did not leave because they wanted to. They left because they had no real alternative if they wanted safety, stability, and a future, and the significant part of the middle class chose Argentina. Why Argentina? Because the United States, Europe, and Asia were realistic options only for those who could afford high costs, complex visa processes, and long transitions. Brazil presented a language barrier for many. Mexico faced its own migration pressures to the USA and security concerns that discouraged some families. Peru and Colombia received enormous numbers of Venezuelans who simply couldn't go any farther. And at that time, Argentina offered access, education, public services, and a huge opportunity, making it for many the most attractive destination in South America, even ahead of countries like Chile, Paraguay, Bolivia, and Uruguay. And here's the paradox that is rarely discussed. The political collapse of Venezuela created an immense human tragedy, but at the same time, it transferred an extraordinary amount of human capital to countries that received that migration, especially Argentina. Venezuela invested for decades in education and training, and Argentina, at a critical moment, received all that huge talent. Of course, this was not without challenges. For years, Argentina had to adjust its labor market and economic structure. In some sectors, Venezuelan professionals, highly qualified and willing to start again, entered the workforce at lower salaries than the Argentines that they were displacing. This created friction, unemployment for local Argentines, and necessary adaptation for everyone. The entire process of reaccommodation took roughly a decade, but over time, Argentina absorbed this workforce, and once absorbed, the benefits became enormous. Today, Argentina is home to millions of Venezuelans who are hardworking, entrepreneurial, and deeply integrated into Argentine society. They work, they rent, they buy, they open businesses, they create demand. For many Venezuelans, Argentina is no longer a temporary destination. It is home, and this is where timing becomes crucial. Venezuela will recover, there is no doubt about that. But realistically, rebuilding institutions, confidence, and long-term stability takes time. 10, 20, perhaps 30 years. Argentina, on the other hand, will feel the benefits much sooner, 5 to 10 years. Venezuela may once again become a land of opportunity, but Argentina will come first. Because in economics, just like in life, timing is everything. Imagine a small country, almost a dot on the map, shaking an entire continent. That country was Greece. Greece is about the size of Alabama, just over 10 million people. And yet, when the reality of its debt emerged in 2009, the impact was not contained. It shook all of Europe. Why? Because Greece was connected. One currency, interconnected banks, shared financial risk. A small country created a continental crisis. Europe lost nearly a decade of growth. Now hold that image and let's return to Latin America. Venezuela is not small. It is 7 times larger than Greece, rich in oil, rich in natural resources, once one of the strongest economies in the region. But Latin America is structurally different. No shared currency, no unified debt system. So when Venezuela collapsed, the shock did not travel through banks. It traveled through people. Millions left. This was one of the largest migration waves in modern history. The continent did not collapse, but it slowed down. Trade suffered. Energy production declined. A regional engine lost momentum. So here's the question most people avoid. If a small country like Greece could drag down Europe, how much potential did Venezuela remove from Latin America simply by stopping its economic function? The answer is simple, more than we generally acknowledge. But every story has a turning point. Today, Venezuela is no longer in free fall. Slowly and unevenly, it is moving back toward the global system. Production is returning for the Venezuelan giant. Markets are reopening, capital is paying attention again, and the people who left did not disappear. They built lives, especially in Argentina, and real estate does not respond to ideology. Real estate responds to people. More people means more rentals, more density, more demand. As Venezuela stabilizes, Latin America benefits, and Argentina, the country that absorbed most of Venezuelan talent when the region needed it most, is positioned again to benefit first. The lesson from Greece was never about size. It was about connection. And the lesson from Venezuela is that recovery never helps just one country. It lifts an entire region. When people move, work, invest, and build, real estate is always part of the story. This time the story begins in Latin America, accelerates in Argentina, and with time returns opportunity to Venezuela, but first in Argentina. If you want to be part of that recovery, conservative real estate investments, such as real estate in Argentina, deserve serious consideration. Our contact information can be found on the written description below. Thank you for watching. Gracias.